Motherfucker, I already recorded the first little bit of this and then my camera app just like glitched out, so now I gotta do it again. But, anyways, I'm doing a reading for you because I'm annoying and because I'm bored. And I don't know, I wanted to kind of delve deeper into your psyche because I'm a creep. So, I know you don't believe in this stuff, so I don't really care. Maybe you'll believe in it after I do it. You never know. So, the first card I got for you was limitations inspire inspiration. So, kind of thinking about what kind of limitations you've set inside yourself for kind of what you believe in your mental habits and what's possible in this world and um, what you're capable of. And sometimes those limitations, when we reach the limit of them, it can inspire inspiration. Because when you're faced with a limitation, like being out of work, it gives you a chance to kind of like find a new inspiration and find something else that lights you up. And, find just like a new way of approaching life. Um, like through difficulty, we experience a lot of growth, and that comes from a lot of limitation and blocks and difficulty. So, this is actually a really good card about being able to kind of transmute some of those limitations into something beautiful, into inspiration that can drive you to kind of find a more fulfilling um, behaviors or ways of being that really light you up inside and make you feel good about yourself. I also got completion, so you're nearing completion of a cycle, or you already have just completed a cycle in your life that's kind of coming to a close now. Potentially some of those limitations inspired inspirations for you. And now you're kind of reaching like a new level of openness towards your life and um, towards what's possible. And this ending for you may have been a challenge, but it's like turning over a new leaf. And um, I mean, it is the new year, so it's a good time for that. So it seems like this is a positive ending, not like a death card ending. Like, this is a very good, happy completion of a cycle that's now opening up something new for you on the other side, something new in the material world that you can really take it for an opportunity. So that's great. And those are kind of the overarching energies. Is you've got some really good fresh start coming in with some new opportunities for yourself. Um, Further, we have the storyteller. So this is kind of about lots of viewpoints and control. This is kind of about the stories we tell ourselves about our lives and how we kind of see ourselves in different situations and how we come off to other people and, just how things go down in life and how we interpret them, whether we see ourselves as a victim or, the aggressor or, just a bystander or whatever. And sometimes just the perspective we have on life and the way that we tell the story really impacts how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about other people. This is supported by boundaries. So I think just making sure you have good boundaries with people and for yourself and protecting your boundaries, protecting the boundaries of others, being clear on what your boundaries are, and being vocal about it is really important because that's going to affect kind of how things play out in the story. Um, when we don't have strong boundaries, we can either let people take advantage of us or we can be taken advantage of or hurt by other people because we're not clear about what we want and what we expect. Um, and yeah, just really being clear on what it is that you want and being vocal about it because without that communication, stories can play out like these shadow puppets where we think we know what's going on, but we're not 100% sure because we don't have those clear boundaries to really have that communication in place to, have a full understanding of, what is the story that's going on here and what does it mean and, what does that mean for the future as well as the past. And just being clear on what their boundaries are and where you may need to set better boundaries so that you can have that clarity on, where things are going and what you need in order to feel safe and comfortable in your life. Okay, and then we have the persona, which is very much about, the masks that we wear towards the different people in our lives. So you may be one person to your mom, you may be one person to me, you may be one person to your friends, and they're all a little bit different the way that we show up with different people. And it's kind of a process throughout life of kind of unpeeling the different masks and understanding there's this one like soul essence inside of us that is the true self that may not kind of come off the same way to different people because we adapt our approach depending on, who it is that we're dealing with and what our history is with them, and, what their expectations are of us. And so just being careful about, putting on that mask and really letting your true expressions shine through and not being afraid to kind of take off that mask and just be authentic and honest and not hold things back out of fear of how other people will perceive you. And this is supported by foundation. So you may have a bit of a foundation of, wearing different masks around different people and not always being super transparent about, what's really going on the inside, and kind of putting on a brave face at times to kind of get by emotionally without letting in people too much into your inner story. And this can be comfortable for you. But I think this card is kind of saying it's an opportunity to grow. And again, the limitations inspire inspirations. Like these limitations we place on ourselves and our self-expression, can give us an opportunity to grow when we kind of take off those masks and discover what's underneath, and how the deep foundation underneath is somebody that's much more true and authentic and not trying to hide behind, a fear of how other people perceive us or how we perceive ourselves, and just being really open and honest and like brave enough to kind of show the world to who we truly are without fear. Okay, and then so on the bottom of the pack, which kind of means like more important, or like the energy supporting everything, is bliss. And this kind of speaks to like a childlike bliss and like innocence about the way that you are. And I see that in you. Like you have a very kind of innocent side, which is really cute. And I think that kind of is how you carry yourself a lot of the time. And maybe you kind of hide behind it a little bit because it's easier to be kind of upbeat and funny and cute and blissful, but maybe it kind of stops you from really going deep emotionally and kind of finding those deeper aspects of yourself. And this is supported by powerful. I think that this is a very powerful part of you that makes you very endearing. This sense of bliss that you have and like your zest for life, I think is really awesome. You have like a real inner child that comes out that's, really lovely to see, because not a lot of people have that. A lot of people are kind of bogged down and they're like day to day, boring, like normie people, and I don't see that in you. I see you as being very blissful, and that's like a very powerful aspect of your personality that's really endearing. Okay, what else? We have the lizard, which speaks to repeating patterns, kind of karmic cycles of kind of going through the same kind of situation over and over again. And you may or may not know what this is in your life, but there could be a pattern repeating that you may not understand why it keeps happening. And the lizard kind of suggests that, lizards lose their tails when they need to escape, and it kind of suggests there may be something you need to leave behind in order to move forward and get out of this cycle that it's plaguing you. Or just, an inconvenience or an annoyance where you're wondering, like, why does this keep happening this way? And that's supported by transmute. So there's something to be transmuted, which basically means taking the shitty shit and turning it into something positive and productive. So I think it's just really thinking about, where in life you've been falling into a cycle. Things that happen to you, like whether it be bad things, usually with this kind of thing, it's like a unfortunate circumstance that keeps happening in like a cycle, or relationship patterns that happen in a cycle, or just like negative things happening to you that kind of follow a pattern, and it's really a learning opportunity, like a karmic learning opportunity to try and figure out what it is that you need to learn from this situation, and using that to transmute it into something like growth and like wisdom and a way to move forward in life, which means often letting something go, which can be very difficult, but ultimately frees you from this kind of pattern that keeps repeating, that's a point of struggle in your life. Which could have to do with these persona and storyteller aspects, like let me think about that one a bit more. We also got the shadow person, so there's a dark side to you as well, and that's followed by deception. So I think there is a part of you that you do kind of keep a little bit secret, and maybe that kind of ties together a lot of these cards where there's like this, like even with this friend, like the shadow puppet, it's like there's like a shadow that follows you that I think maybe you shy away from kind of acknowledging, and that's where the persona comes in, of trying to kind of put on a brave face when there's some difficulty going on underneath the surface. And not necessarily deception from other people, but it can be, but also just deception from yourself, like not recognizing some of your wounding and like things that have like made you the way that you are, that are not always the easiest things to look at, that could be putting you in these karmic cycles that you ultimately want to free yourself from, but can be difficult to understand or recognize if you don't kind of delve into your shadow and some of the like, uglier parts of yourself, and maybe things that you've been hiding from a little bit because you don't want to look at them because they're difficult emotionally to process and understand and like, come to terms with. And then finally we have adaptability, the fox. And the fox is very sly shadow. The fox is also known as like a trickster, so he can be kind of associated with the dark as well. But foxes are very adaptable and very resilient. And you got surrender with that one. So I think this is kind of my foot's falling asleep. Ouch. The advice being, be adaptable, be like the fox. Don't get too stuck in your ways or too stuck in a certain mindset, but just be open to doing things a different way and going with the flow and not getting too upset when things don't go your way, but, understanding that, everything happens for a reason, and when things don't go the way that you plan, just surrendering to that difficulty and accepting that things are the way they are and they're meant to be this way. So just adapting and finding a new way of approaching life, because limitations inspire innovation, And so things may not always go according to plan, and they may not always go according to what we want, but sometimes life just gives you what you need rather than what you want. And the way around that is to just be flexible and adapt. And instead of getting upset about things not going the way that you want, just kind of surrendering and having faith that there's a reason and that what is meant for you will come to you. As long as you have good intentions and you put out bliss into the world, which you do, I think that you have excellent karma. It's funny because the next one that comes up is boundary again, which we already talked about. So definitely a theme around boundaries here. I'm going to look into this card actually a bit more because of that. See what it says. This card comes as confirmation that it is indeed time to respect yourself and your needs. A balanced life requires a clear sense of where our needs end and the needs of others begin. We can only truly be of service when we have our needs met. Others cannot be expected to honor your boundaries if they are unaware of them or if you are communicating them with resentment or blame. Only you can know what your boundaries are. This card invites you to identify and honor a boundary that has been too porous. So yeah, just really recognizing what it is that you need, and even if it inconveniences others, putting yourself first at times, because we can't fill from an empty cup. And when other people don't recognize our boundaries, they can take advantage of us without knowing it, and they don't want to do that. They feel bad about it. They just aren't aware because we're not communicating what our boundaries are. And then that ends up playing out in a story that, can create resentment and conflict where it doesn't need to, as long as we are very upfront about this is what I need, this is what I want to be doing. And, I'm sorry if that doesn't fit your expectations right now, but, this is what I feel called to do. And, I can make concessions or, make plans for another day or whatever, to do what the other person wants to do, but just putting yourself first a little bit more instead of putting other people ahead of your own needs. Because it's that mask again, putting it on to, try to serve the needs of others before your own, and being that like helpful guy that does everything to kind of be in service of others can sometimes drain you and, kind of wear away at your own foundation of who you are and what it is you're meant to put out into this world. And, having a bit more self-love for yourself and caring for yourself a bit more first and foremost. Okay, I'm going to pull some tarot. Come on, give me a good shuffle. No. One good shuffle, please. Kind of. Good shuffles. Tell me more about the boundaries. The Tower. Yes, so the Tower speaks of like utter destruction and chaos. So it seems like, potentially in the past, a lack of boundaries has been a source of chaos in your life. And you may have had, people take advantage of you, or just lead to resentment and a lack of appreciation of people because you haven't had the ability to say no to other people's desires and expectations of you. It seems to be something that's really important lesson for you is to learn how to put up boundaries and be clear about what it is that you need and what it is that you want, and not like getting swayed by other people's expectations and desires too much and being too much of a people pleaser, because ultimately it only hurts you, and it hurts them too when you feel resentment towards them for that. I mean, this could have been related to an old relationship that you had, being too serving of another person and not really having your own needs met. Putting on a face for this person that served them in the end. So the King of Wands. Like, I can tell that you're a real leader and you have a lot of passion. Show this to the camera. King of Wands. The Tower. The King of Wands is like the ultimate master of his fate and his attention, and he's very charismatic and full of passion and joy, and I see that a lot in you. That's what I find very attractive about you, is the King of Wands energy. And I think if you just harness a bit more of that, because the King of Wands is very decisive, he's very clear about what he wants. He doesn't take any bullshit from people. He's a real leader, and makes decisions very clearly and without doubt, and just doesn't put up with any bullshit. He knows what he wants and he follows that, and anything else can just fuck off, basically. Not in a mean way, but just in a wise way that has very strong boundaries around protecting his own energy. So tell me more about some of the dark side, this lizard and deception. So it's around a new start. The Ace of Pentacles. So this kind of deceptive, shadowy cycle may be following you again into the future here, with a new beginning that you're coming into. And it seems like something you may want to look at and address so it doesn't kind of follow you again into another cycle of the same kind of thing. You have a new opportunity to start over, just like with this completion card. You have completed a cycle, and it's just up to you whether you want to learn from that cycle and some of the things that you may be carrying with you from that, and bring those into this new phase of your life, or if you want to spend the time kind of delving into the shadow a bit more and trying to understand some of these cycles that have followed you and work on transmuting them into something positive. Wheel of Fortune. This is like a faded kind of coming together. Like this is the time to address these I don't want to say issues, but like aspects of your personality that need tending to, because now is the time of for you to heal. You have the support right now to heal this, and it's just like faded timing. It's a time of change and evolution and evolving yourself into the version of yourself that you want to be. So don't take that for granted and really take use of this time to kind of work on these aspects of yourself that need a little bit of attention. Some more on the fox, surrender. The Empress. Yeah, so the Empress is very much like, I mean, she's the queen. She's the mother of the tarot. Like, she's very easygoing, very laid back, beautiful, divine, feminine energy. And she knows how to let go. I think that's what's coming with the adaptability and surrender, is just going with the flow and not getting too caught up in your expectations of how things should be, and just letting the garden grow wild, and just enjoying the beauty of it all, and not taking for granted the things in life that are so important that we often take for granted, like, our health and our family and, our home situation, all these things that are so lovely. Like the Empress reminds us to kind of surrender to the fact that we're all so blessed, and she's very adaptable. She's not set in her ways. She's very much like the perfect mother that kind of can just go with the flow and let things be, and also just really nurture herself, and learn how to take care of herself first and foremost before reaching out to help others, because again, you can't give from an empty cup. And her energy really teaches you to surrender to the way that things are, just the way that they are, and not having this state of resistance against what things could be or how they should be. And playing out one of these stories again about what if, and if only I had done it this way, or if only this person hadn't said this. Like, just letting go of some of that expectation and control over your life circumstances, and really just, setting boundaries and being adaptable, and acknowledging that you have this beautiful King of Wands energy, that's really rare and very powerful, very charismatic, very lovable, and having faith in yourself. And these shadowy aspects will resolve themselves if you do the work to kind of look at them a bit more closely, and not take them into this new opportunity that you have coming in, and instead focusing on the bliss and like the childlike wonder of like this card, which is just very innocent and hopeful. And that was at the bottom of the deck, so I feel like that one's really important actually, because this is a fated time of growth for you. I'm gonna pull one more card from the Rose Oracle just to sum it up. I find these ones are really nice to end on. One last card. Mother Rose, returning to each other, compassion. I'll read it from the book, if I can find the book amongst all my bazillion cards. Mother Rose. 144. That's not it. Mother Rose, 147. A sacred symbol of the feminine, the rose has been here much longer than us. In ancient times, garlands of roses were placed around statues of mother goddesses in worship of her. We're all her children. She connects us and unites us all. If we trace her roots far enough, maybe we'll find our way back to each other. We're living in a time of great division, learning and unlearning. We're together mending the thread of humanity. This is a card of returning to union by facing what's been broken, separated, and severed. To realize that we're all human, and while harm has been done, what's needed now is for us to acknowledge what's happened and endeavor to find a way to return to each other. To realize it's possible for two people to have a different perspective at the same time, and both can be true. Mother Rose longs for humanity to drop our defenses, boundaries, and reach out to each other with deep honesty and compassion, to face and untangle the sadness, anger, and hurt from our hearts and the help of her grace, to dig our roots deep until we find common ground. Which relationships are difficult for you now? Who has hurt you? How can you soften and express your truth without being defensive? How can you open yourself up to the possibility that two truths can exist at once? Yeah, difficulty. I can see that. But I feel like, yeah, it's a time of coming back together and healing some of the difficult cycles that you've been in for quite a while, it seems like, and letting something go. Something needs to be let go in order to kind of find this, like, more authentic version of yourself. This bliss version. This King of Wands version. That's what I really see. And, there's only so much. I don't know much about your past, so this is as much as I can see, but I don't know. You can tell me if I'm totally off base or, if some of this means something to you. I hope it resonates, but I don't really know. Maybe I'm just talking a bunch of bullshit. Who knows? So, anyways, hope you're having a good morning. Bye.